Today's video is going to be on how I wear all of my equipment. It's cold outside, so we'll wear long johns today. I start with a kimono. This is a short style that is meant to be worn with the hakama. Sometimes it's called a hakamashita, but the main difference is it stops at knee length as opposed to a full-length kimono. It goes down to ankle length. So, start with putting this guy on, and then I use a piece of sageo. You can use any kind of string or whatever for this, but I just use this as a quick hasty belt to keep it from coming undone on me while I put my obi on. And then I'll take this guy off. So, just to keep it folded, keep it in place. Now, traditionally, you would wear an obi next before you put your hakama on. I don't usually, or I don't always wear the obi underneath, but for today, I'll show you how I would wear it. I'm going to take about enough length to go down to my knee. I'm going to fold it under like so, and then probably a little bit less, about there. Under like so, and I'm going to just kind of pin and hold it. And then we're just going to wrap this. A little bit of a pain to get started. There we go. Once you get it crossed over the front, it tends to hold itself pretty well. But continue to wrap. Make sure it's straight and even. Give it a good tug to make sure it's tight. And then here, when I get to the final tail, I'm going to bring it past. I'm going to bring this tail up and then tuck it all the way through. There are a lot of different ways you can tie this. This is the easiest one I found, that I like the way the knot turns out. But pull it a little bit tight here. We can get this guy out of the way now, so we're not fighting with him. We'll use him later. So, tight here after I pull it down through. This one I'm going to fold over on itself to about here. You might have to adjust these lengths a little bit for yourself to make it fit the way you want it to. And then I'm going to fold this guy up, fold this tail over, tucking it behind on this side, and then fold this tail back down through, like so. Now, depending on how long of a tail you have, you can fold it up over and then tuck it in again. Makes a nice square shape here. You're then going to pinch and grab this entire thing, pinch the belt in the back as well, and then you rotate the entire thing until that knot is in the small of your back. If you rotate clockwise, it'll keep your kimono closed as you do it, otherwise you undo your kimono at the same time. So this would be your under obi. Traditionally, this would be the only obi you wear during Iaido or martial arts practice. Personally, I like wearing an outer obi as well, so you'll see that in a minute. Now, to get my sleeves out of the way, I take my same sageo string, I'm going to grab it with my teeth, bunch my sleeve up, feed it underneath that armpit, over my head, opposite shoulder, bunch this sleeve up, take it under this shoulder, making an X in the back, across the opposite shoulder, and then we just tie a bow. The hakama I use is just a cheap one from Amazon. I think they're about 45, 50 bucks. You can get anywhere from these up to $200, $300 silk or full cotton, custom made. I'm not balling on that kind of a budget. So, I will say there are two different varieties of hakama. I didn't know this until I found out by buying the wrong kind. There's the kind with split legs, which is what I'm using here, and then there's the skirt kind that does not have split legs. So when you're purchasing them, make sure you read the fine print. The ones with split legs were intended for horse riding. But fun fact. So we step through the front. I'm going to lift the front up to being level with my obi. I'm going to cross in the back over the obi. Come back to the front. I'm going to cross in the front. Now if you want to do this cleanly, you'll cross one side, then you'll cross the other side so that you don't have an overlap in the front. It just looks like one smooth transition. Pull that tight, and then come to the back, and I tie these underneath the obi knot. And I just do a simple one-sided bow knot. For me, it's easiest behind my back. There's nothing special or fancy going on, and it's easy for me to untie. And there we go. Then we will pull the back of our hakama up. Some of them have this little plastic tab. If you do have the kind with the plastic tab, you're going to take that plastic tab and stick it in behind the obi. Bring your strings around to the front, and then I just tie a square knot here. Some people will loop this knot through the other straps so they're all tied together in the front. I don't find that necessary, especially with where I wear my other obi on top as well. Oops. Square knot. So tie a little square knot in the front here. There's a couple different ways you can then take what's left of this and turn it into a little bow in the front. Today we're not going to be doing that. I'm just going to come back here. I'm going to take my bottom strand here. I'm going to tuck it through twice, and then just pull nice and flush out of the way. Same thing here. Tuck it through once, twice, give a little tug, and the tail's out of the way. Now, this is the point to which most more traditional practitioners would put together their attire. They don't typically wear an obi on the outside, with the exception of the Assam and Ishin Ryu. I may have butchered that, I apologize if I did. They will wear an outer obi. Most other schools do not. At this point, they would place their saya through their obi. Personally, I don't like doing that because I find it to be more restrictive than what I like. So therefore, I wear an outer obi. I believe this is called a kaku obi. It's almost a cross between the other obi you saw me put on and a traditional like karate obi. It's a little bit thinner and softer like a karate obi, but it's still just as long as the under obi that I just put on. But to put this guy on, I'm going to start on my right hip, leaving, you'll have to play with this tail length to figure it out for yourself, but for me it's roughly knee height, starting on this hip, right hip. I'm going to cross in the back. When I cross in the back, I'm doing so above that kimono knot down here, so it stays on that flat part of the small of my back. You want this to be snug, but not too terribly tight. Finish my wraps, and then again, I just tie a square knot in the front. If it's not quite centered, we just shift it. And at this point, I would take my wakizashi, going through my outer obi, going through all layers of it. So between the obi and the hakama, I'll insert my saya here. I tuck the bottom tail of my sago string through. I center my tsuba with my belly button, my center line, and then I tie a square knot in this guy, which secures my wakizashi to my obi belt. This prevents my wakizashi from moving around. This manner of securing it is not traditional. However, it's what I found I like and what suits me well. After that, last but not least, we have our katana. I'm going to find outer layer, second layer. So now there's one layer of obi belt between my katana and my wakizashi, and that is where I insert this saya, like so.